I'm Glenn, Center Van Fishing Field Team, COAF Field Team on YouTube. And this round, what do we got for you? We're talking pier fishing for sharks. In this case, some tips for beginners, as we're just average Joes. We're not experts. We're just avid fishermen who have passion fishing. And in this case, we do like taking a trip to the coast every once in a while. And, well, we've gotten better at catching a few sharks here and there. So here's some tips, some suggestions that, well, if we were asked what we do, well, this is what we do. First thing, get the latest pier info. What are we talking about? Hours that they're open, cost per person, rod limits. What do we say with hours open? You definitely want to call the pier that you're calling or that you plan on going to, because they may have some adjusted hours, maybe 24/7. Then later on in the winter time, they'll cut it down. So definitely get the hours that they're open. And then cost per person. There's some discounts if you're military, senior citizen, as well as if you're a kid. Additionally, just want to know what that cost is. Then next thing is the rod limits. There are some limits. Sometimes there's 2, sometimes there's 3 per person. There's also some length limits for rods, so you do want to get that information before you head out. Next thing, there's some other restrictions. Other restrictions like you can't bring alcohol on the pier, or you may not be able to bring bottled or glass bottles. Additionally, cast nets are sometimes prohibited, and there's also, I know in the 61st Street fishing pier over there in Galveston, I think it's like a 37-inch, or even there's a length limit or size limit on your pier cart that you can take on board the pier. So you want to call ahead and get that information beforehand, or maybe check out their website, but definitely find out before you head out there. Additionally, you want to look at some of the fishing reports. I mean, you might as well get the latest and greatest from those that are over there fishing on the pier or there every day. So, hey, give it a shot and call ahead. Get those fishing reports and get an understanding as to what may be out there. Next thing is get the high and low tide for your area. Go look at the tide charts. Go look online for that particular area that you're going to be fishing. You want to kind of fish those tides before the tide, on a rising tide. Time it so that you're there when there's some water movement instead of when those slack tide and there's not as much water movement. Okay, weather forecast. Need to know what anticipate from a weather standpoint. You may want to have some definite sunscreen. Maybe some rain gear. Just got to play it by ear, but definitely call or go ahead and check what you anticipate for the weather while you're down there. Next thing is you got to have a fishing license. Well, in some cases, you may not, but better check. Some places I've been to piers where you don't require a fishing license. All the ones that we've been to here in the Galveston area, 61st Street Fishing Pier, the Galveston Fishing Pier, as well as down south, when Bob Hall Pier was open over there in Port Aransas, as well as Horace Caldwell, all those required having a fishing license. So make sure you do have that ahead of time and find out, as well as be ready for that. Additionally, fishing regulations. Got to know what the regulations are for a particular fish. Maybe you might catch one and you want to just know what it is. So do brush up on that. The way things are now, you can just have your phone with you. You can check, but it's always good to have an idea what you can and can't keep out there, or some regulations that may prohibit you from keeping as many, because there's a daily limit, as well as maybe there's a size limit. So do get that latest pier info to include the information just noted. Okay, next thing, prepare your gear. What we suggest, 50-pound rod combo. A shark rod is the one that you'll be using. 12-pound rod combo, that one's going to be used for the bait. You want to catch some fresh bait, be it live or some cut bait that you'll be using. Shark leaders, get those rigged up. May buy them commercially or make them yourself. Have enough terminal tackle. You may have to replace a few things, weights, swivels, more hooks. Just be ready to, or be prepared to have that extra gear, to include some line, extra 50-pound and 12-pound line for those shark rod and that bait rod that you're going to be using. Additionally, you want to have a pier net, a tape measure, pier net, so that you can release it if it's too small, too big. And in case tape measure, to make sure that you know how big it is or how small it is, so you can let it go as well. Let's see. Next thing, pliers, knife, a crimper. The crimper, not as much. for some folks. I like having a crimper because then I can make leaders on the fly as need be if I break off. The pliers, you want to have that because, well, you get that shark, you have to take that hook out of the mouth, and it's pretty tough doing it by hand in some cases. Have a knife, be able to clean it as well as cut the bait fish that you're going to have. Be prepared that way. And then have an ice chest with ice and enough water and snacks because you might get a little hydrated or dehydrated while out there, and then you might get a little hungry while you're out there too. So always good to have some nourishment out there as well as staying hydrated. Next thing is the sun protection and rain gear, just in case it might be really sunny, or it's probably going to be really sunny, and you want to have that protection. And then if it does rain, you want to be able to still be fishing out there while it's raining, because you made that whole trip down to the coast and you don't want to miss out. Next thing is a lamp and a flashlight. Flashlight's good because it's going to be dark on the pier at times, and so you want to be able to see exactly what you're looking for if you're not able to get enough light from the pier lights itself. And then that lamp is always good to have as well. You might be in a darker section as well. And I personally like using the little handheld LED lights where you just click it on and off. And then additionally, I also have a battery-powered lamp that it gets pretty bright. Have that for several years and been pretty happy with it, as well as it fits right into that pier cart that we use. Let's see, Sabiki rigs and Spec rigs. Those are good too. The Sabiki rig for getting those small bait fish that are going to be near the pier, and then those Spec rigs for catching some more of those sand trout, because those make really good bait, as well as some of those other fish that you catch with the Spec rig. Can't use a speckled trout, but you can use sand trout for some of that bait, and the fish do like them. And if you do get a ladyfish, well, that's one that you definitely want to use when you're out there trying to catch a shark or two. Let's see. Next up, fish bites and bait shrimp. Yes, you definitely want to have some fish bites. That's going to help you get some of those bait fish. And then those bait shrimp as well, that also helps. Sometimes they want the bait shrimp, sometimes they want the fish bites. You may even want to get some squid and whatnot, but I find that if you get either one of those two or both of those two, you're pretty good to go with catching some of that bait. Okay, so that was prepare your gear. Okay, next up, pier setup. So you're at the pier, you're ready to go. What are you going to do? Arrive before the crowds, because it's going to get really crowded at times. So you want to look for those open areas. If you can't do that or time it as such, just kind of gut it out and just find an open area and just see what you can do from that location. Then make it the adjustment that you can while you're on the pier once people are leaving, coming, going throughout the day. Next thing is observe the waves and current direction. So you want to see where the waves are, the current direction, so you know how to cast and how it's going to tend your rig once you've set it out there. So pay attention to that. And then note what others are catching as well as not catching. So it looks like everybody's catching something, or it's kind of not so great. Note that while you're going along the pier. Try to look for a spot to go set up. And then one thing that you do want to learn is a slip knot. It's the one where you can easily pull the knot and grab your rod, because several times I almost lost our fishing rods because I didn't have it secured properly. You probably can do it with a bungee cord and whatnot. That would help also, but I tend to have some kind of paracord or some line always in our tackle box. So a slip knot is very simple to tie, and it's really simple to untie. It's enough to hold your rod in place while that big one, that shark or two, grabs that bait of yours and starts going on a run. Okay, fishing and after. So you're fishing two rods. Cast one far, cast one close. That way you can work further out from the pier, and then those areas that when they're getting closer to the pier as well. So you have, you're covering both areas. Additionally, catch bait fish using those fish bites and shrimp. And as you're bringing them in, you can fish them live. You can fish them cut. Just whatever you're catching, put it in your ice chest. Keep it fresh, and definitely keep it in the ice chest, because the birds are going to get it. The gulls and these other birds that they're just like all over the place, ready to go grab your bait. So make sure you do that. And like I said, use live bait or cut bait and adjust as needed. So if it looks like the live bait's getting hit more, go for it. If it looks like the cut bait, then switch back to the cut bait. And see, use non-stainless steel, non-offset circle hooks. That's a requirement here in Texas. fishing the Gulf waters or the state waters. So you want to make sure you have that. But in general, that's a good thing to have as well, because non-stainless, it'll just rust out if he breaks off. And that offset piece, I believe that's also to help allow it to come off the shark's jaw if it breaks off on you. All right. Let's see, land sharks with a Pier net and measure accurately. The Pier net we use, I think I put it in the post, the Pier net we used. That one worked well. It made it up for that 54-inch shark that our fishing buddy was able to catch. And the good thing is if we decide to let it go, we could just let it go. No gaffing, no harm to the fish. If we were going to do so, we could let it go with no problem. And that Pier net did come in handy. Used it for sharks, used it for the black drum, used it for the bull reds that we caught this last round. So, hey, got to have a Pier net, and definitely a tape measure so you can measure it accurately, because you're going to be able to, well, it's good to know that you're in regs or not, and, you know, have a tape measure. Measure it accurately. And if you're not sure, well, if you're not certain if it's legal, go ahead and just let it go as a rule of thumb. Be it if you can't identify the shark, or in this case, if you're not sure about the length and whatnot, let it go and let it get bigger and move on. All right. Let's see. And if you do want to keep one, and it is legal, it's suggested that you bleed the fish or the shark, in this case, cut the tail, but don't cut the tail off completely. There's a requirement here in our state of Texas, where you have to have the tail intact. So you slice it and let the blood drain out. That's going to help it, well, at least the meat taste better, or at least stay better, instead of just letting it sit there. All right. So that's it for our infographic, Pier Fishing for Sharks, tips for beginners. Hope that helps a few of y'all. Let us know if it does. And, well, let us know if you want some other information out there. We're going to keep doing this kind of style of pier or fishing tips using this infographic technique, because, well, I think a picture says a lot more than just words and letters. And then we could tie it in with some details with the video like this. And we'll post them at our partner website. This is... let's see, fishing-hacks.com. At the website, you'll see some other things we've posted there. So do check that out as well. All right, all for now. Next time, we'll catch you all later. Good luck and good fishing.